The world sold you a story of struggle. They painted pictures of endless hustle, sleepless nights, and sacrificial climbs up mountains of man-made success. They whispered in your ear, work harder, do more, give up everything for the dream of someday having enough. But heaven spoke a radically different language. While the world screamed hustle, the Spirit whispered, stand still and speak the word, and I will deliver it unto thee. You were not born to be a slave to the visible realm. You were not designed to bow before bank statements, to tremble at invoices, or to measure your worth by the numbers on a screen. You were born to command the invisible forces that govern all substance, all supply, all divine wealth. Here's the revelation that will shatter your reality. You may think you're listening to learn how to become a multi-millionaire, but let me tell you the truth that will set you free. You are already a multi-millionaire in the realm of spirit, right now, not someday when you work hard enough, not if you find the right opportunity, not when the stars align or the economy improves, but right now. You do not become what you say. You reveal what already is by speaking it into form. Every dollar you'll ever need, every contract that will transform your life, every opportunity that will elevate your existence, every divine appointment that will change your story. All of it already exists in the invisible warehouse of the Word. You don't chase it. You don't earn it. You don't deserve it through struggle. You declare it, and it comes to you under grace in perfect ways. When Moses stood trembling before the burning bush, overwhelmed by his assignment and his inadequacy, God didn't give him a riddle wrapped in mystery. He gave him the ultimate password to unlock every treasure in heaven and earth. I am that I am. This wasn't poetry. This wasn't a philosophical meditation. This was a legal announcement in the court of divine law. It was the password that parts seas, the key that unlocks treasuries, the name that commands all substance to obey. When you say I am, you are not simply making an affirmation. You are not engaging in positive thinking or hopeful wishing. You are stepping into your eternal identity, not what the world calls you, not what your circumstances echo back to you, not what your bank account reflects, but what Spirit already knows to be eternally, unchangeably true. You are rich now, not when you get the promotion, close the deal, or find your purpose. You are provided for now, not when you figure out the plan, work up the courage. When conditions improve, you are supplied now, not when you prove yourself worthy, when you sacrifice enough, when you hustle harder. But here's the bridge you must cross. Your words must catch up with heaven. I was once exactly where you are, waiting, hoping, afraid to declare the good, lest I be disappointed. I thought faith meant silently believing while externally struggling. I thought wealth came from action, from grinding, from proving myself to an indifferent universe. But I learned the cosmic truth. Faith means boldly declaring. Wealth comes from authority, not activity. So I was waiting on God, but God was waiting on my word. And the moment I spoke, not from fear, not from desperation, not from trying to manipulate outcomes, but from the deep knowing of who I am in spirit, everything changed. Money showed up from sources I never expected. People offered checks without being asked. Old debts vanished like morning mist. New doors swung open with supernatural ease. Why? Because I finally said the one thing that changes everything. I am a multi-millionaire by divine right, and my supply is here now. Most people hand the microphone of their reality to the world the moment they open their eyes. They reach for their phones, check their bank accounts, scan the news, and let external circumstances set the tone for their entire day. They become thermometers, reflecting whatever temperature life serves them. But the wealthy in spirit understand a sacred principle. The first word of your day is the seed of everything that unfolds. You must learn to speak before breakfast, to declare before you dress, to command before you calculate. You must seize the throne of your reality before the world has a chance to dictate its limited agenda. Here's your new morning protocol, the ritual that transforms peasants into princes. Before your feet touch the floor, before you check a single notification, before you let the world whisper its fears into your consciousness, you rise up in the authority of your divine nature and declare this is a day of divine provision orchestrated by heaven itself. I walk into increase with every step. Supply meets me at every turn. God goes before me and prepares channels I haven't even seen yet. Every conversation is divinely guided. Every appointment is perfectly timed. Every opportunity is heaven sent. I am met with favor, increase, and overflow before the sun sets. This isn't just morning motivation. This is metaphysical mastery. This is how you frame your atmosphere, how you set the spiritual temperature of your environment, how you ensure that your day serves your vision instead of your circumstances controlling your experience. The difference between the wealthy and the weary is simple. The wealthy decree from their throne before they survey the battlefield. The weary check the battle report before they decide whether to speak. But I tell you the truth, nothing on the battlefield matters when your word has already won the war. Let me share with you the exact sentence that transformed my financial reality and elevated me from struggling to supernatural supply. This isn't theory. This is my lived testimony. The proof that the word works when worked consistently. There came a moment when I didn't have much money, but I had something far more powerful, a sentence. And I chose to speak that sentence, not once, not occasionally, not when I felt inspired or remembered, but every single day for 90 consecutive days, as though my very breath depended on it. The sentence that changed everything is this: God is my unfailing supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. I didn't shout it. I didn't dramatize it. I didn't perform it for an audience. I spoke it in rhythm, in stillness, in law, morning after morning, moment after moment, with the quiet confidence of one who knows that the word cannot return void. I spoke it not as a ritual, but as a return to divine order, not as a performance, but as a pronouncement, not to convince God of anything, but to align myself with what God had already ordained. That supply is never delayed, that money is never random, that the source is never blocked, and the channels are never truly closed, except by the spoken doubts of humanity itself. I chose for 90 days, not to ask how it would happen, not to demand when it would manifest, not to argue with appearances, not to check constantly for proof, not to let doubt dilute my decree. Instead, I simply spoke the word, and something sacred began to unfold. My mind stopped racing with worry. My emotions settled into peace. The vibration of lack that had haunted my atmosphere, like a persistent fog, began to lift like mist in the morning sun. The word began to replace the worry, and with it came what skeptics call coincidences, but I call substance answering spirit. The manifestations began. An unexpected refund appeared from an account I had completely forgotten. A client I hadn't spoken to in years wrote a substantial check without any request from me. Opportunities emerged through channels I never could have designed or foreseen. Bills that had loomed like giants fell without battle or struggle. Doors opened that had been sealed for years. I realized with awe and quiet joy that nothing was coming to me. It had always been circling, waiting for the atmosphere of permission that only the spoken word can create. The money was never held back by the economy, by timing, by my qualifications, or by my efforts. It was held back only by contradiction in my speech. Once the contradiction ceased, once the word became law through repetition and reverence and rhythm, the wealth obeyed like a well-trained servant. You may ask, was it difficult? No, it was holy. Was it fast? It was faithful. Did it always feel like it was working? No, but the law doesn't ask how you feel. The law asks what you say. But here's where most people sabotage their own breakthrough. They speak their wealth into existence with morning declarations, then assassinate it with afternoon fears. There comes a moment for every soul who dares to walk by faith instead of sight. A moment when the winds howl, when appearances scream contradiction, when bills pile up like accusations, when phones remain silent like judges, when doors look locked like prisons, when logic says turn back, and emotion says give up, and the world says be reasonable. Even your own mind begins to whisper the poison of doubt. What if it's not working? What if you're delusional? What if you're wasting your time? In that moment, Many who once spoke with boldness begin to retract, to tremble, to reverse their decrees with the betrayal of hesitation and self-doubt. But understand this with crystal clarity. Fear is not your friend. It's not your wisdom. It's not your intuition protecting you from disappointment. Fear is a reversal spell, a silent assassin, a false prophet sent specifically to sabotage your supply. Fear is a vacuum, and your wealth cannot dwell where it is not welcome. The greatest contradiction to your spoken word is not what others say about your dreams, what the economy does to your industry, what your past holds as evidence against you. The greatest contradiction is what you entertain after the word has been spoken. Every doubt allowed after your decree becomes a leak in the pipe, a crack in the temple wall, a weakening of the structure that should have been indestructible. So your new protocol for dealing with fear is this. When fear whispers, "What if it doesn't come?" you roar back. It already has in spirit, and the substance is following the blueprint I've spoken. When fear hisses, you're behind schedule. You declare, "I am in divine alignment, and my supply runs ahead of me, preparing the way." When fear dares to suggest there's not enough to go around, you announce, "My source is infinite, and I live in overflow that blesses everyone I touch." When fear tries to convince you, "You don't deserve this," you proclaim, "I am an heir of the king, and wealth is my birthright." You don't negotiate with thieves. You don't debate with devourers. You don't reason with robbers. You rebuke them. You evict them. You cast them out like the trespassers they are. Your daily fear-crushing declaration: "I cast the burden of fear upon the Christ within, and I go free. I no longer fear not having enough, for I walk with the God who is more than enough. I no longer fear delay, for divine timing is perfect and never late. I no longer fear appearances, for I know the law is working beneath the surface of every circumstance." There is a sacred shift that occurs in the soul when someone finally stops speaking from the tremble of their feelings and begins speaking from the throne of law, when they no longer wait for their emotions to be perfect before proclaiming what is already perfect in spirit. The law does not respond to emotion. It responds to instruction. The word of power is not born in the realm of sentiment. It is born in the realm of certainty, the realm where God himself said, "Let there be light," not because he felt light, not because the world looked bright, but because he was light and spoke from his own nature rather than from the condition of the void. If you are made in the image and likeness of God, and then you are called to speak not what you feel, but what you know to be eternally true, even when your senses betray you, even when bank statements lie, even when circumstances scream contradiction. Emotion is weather, but law is the sky beneath it. Emotion is a passing wave, but law is the ocean floor. Emotion is a drifting cloud, but law is the gravity that holds the earth in place. If you try to build your wealth, your declarations, your supply, and your spiritual identity on the shaky scaffolding of emotion, you will be blown about by every gust of circumstance, every late payment, every rejected proposal, every slow week, every unsupportive voice, every disappointing phone call. But if you anchor yourself in law, if you plant your feet in the immovable word that says, "Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee," then it will not matter how you feel when you say it, because divine law does not require your mood, it requires your mouth. The most powerful words I ever spoke were not the ones I felt deeply in my bones. They were the ones I spoke despite how I felt. The ones I spoke when I felt afraid, but chose faith. When I felt empty, but chose overflow. When I felt forgotten, but chose divine remembrance. When I felt late, but chose perfect timing. Those words, those cold, firm, unshaken words, worked miracles because they were rooted in law, not feeling. They carried the authority of eternal truth, rather than the instability of temporary emotion. When you speak from law, you speak as one who commands the invisible. You speak as the general, not the soldier. You speak as the architect, not the bricklayer. You speak as the heir, not the orphan. You say, "My supply is constant because my source is eternal, even when the invoice arrives." You say, "My wealth increases daily because I am one with divine substance, even when your wallet feels thin. You say, money flows to me richly, rapidly, and repeatedly, even when the world tries to convince you to fear, because your word is not an echo of what is. It is a decree of what shall be. Every morning, you stand at a crossroads of identity. You can either accept the labels the world has assigned you based on your circumstances, or you can claim the title heaven has already bestowed upon you based on your spiritual DNA. The first divine habit of all who walk in visible wealth is the relentless rhythmic identification with what is already true in spirit, even when it is not yet seen in form. This is not pretending. This is not performance. This is not delusion. This is divine law. When you say, I am rich, you are not boasting about what your bank account reflects. You are coming into agreement with what heaven already ordained, what divine substance already declared from the foundations of the world. When God revealed himself to Moses in the burning bush and said, I am that I am, he was not offering a poetic riddle. He was revealing the core name of all reality, the generative principle that undergirds every act of creation. When you say, I am, you are not simply affirming something. You are activating a blueprint. You are connecting your consciousness to the generator of all form. You are announcing to seen and unseen realms alike that you no longer speak from your senses, but from your source. And if your source is divine, then your substance must follow. For the river cannot produce what the spring does not contain, and the spring of God contains only abundance, only overflow, only perfection, only opulence, only divine order. Therefore, you must reject all lesser labels, cast down all false titles, break agreement with every identity that echoes struggle, refuse all names that suggest delay or insufficiency, and you must daily, audibly, joyfully declare from your soul, I am divine wealth. I am the visible expression of invisible supply. I am one with the treasury of heaven. I am the circulation point of unlimited riches. I am abundance in human form. I am the expression of divine increase. Don't say it once as if checking a box. Say it again and again until it melts every resistance, until it drowns out the old voices of lack and fear, until it becomes more natural to say, I am wealthy than to say, I'm trying, until your inner speech becomes a river of truth, so wide and so strong that doubt has no place to root. You must understand that your word is not merely language. It is legislation. Not merely sound, it is spiritual statute. Not merely affirmation, it is divine commandment. If you do not grasp this fundamental truth, you will continue to speak as if your words are weak opinions instead of royal decrees that shape the corridors of the unseen, vibrate through the ethers of substance, and summon into form the riches of divine supply itself. The word is not symbolic. It is structural. It is not a metaphor for action. It is the generator of manifestation. You have been taught by the world to wait for provision before you speak as one who has. But heaven demands the reverse. You must speak as one who has in order to see the provision. What is visible bows to what is vocal. The word, when spoken in spiritual alignment, does not ask permission. It gives instruction. It does not describe chaos. It establishes cosmos. It does not repeat problems. It overrides them with spiritual architecture. This is why Isaiah 55:11 was given not as poetry but as physics, as spiritual mechanics. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. If God has said this about his word, and if you are made in his image, then your word, when spoken from union with the Christ within, carries the same unfailing nature. The word that returns void is not the word of law, but the word of fear, complaint, sarcasm, idle speech, emotional reaction. Such words are like arrows fired at fog. They create more confusion and reinforce the illusion of lack. But the word that returns full is the word issued like a royal edict, a legal utterance from the throne room of consciousness, spoken not from panic, but from posture, not from emotion, but from dominion. That word carries with it an invisible instruction to the very fabric of reality. to align, to open, to yield, to create, to manifest. The world responds not to hoping, not to trying, not to working yourself to exhaustion. It responds to law. And law is released by the spoken word. Until it is spoken, it remains potential. Once it is spoken with authority, it becomes mandate. You are not here to earn wealth. You are here to decree it. You are not here to chase money. You are here to command it. You are not here to beg for provision. You are here to speak it into existence. Your inheritance is not struggle. Your inheritance is wealth. Your nature is not lack. Your nature is abundance. Your speech is not powerless. Your speech is the golden key. The treasury of heaven awaits your voice. The floodgates of supply listen for your command. The channels of prosperity respond to your decree. Open your mouth. Speak your wealth. Command your supply. And watch as the invisible becomes visible, as the spiritual becomes substantial, as the word becomes wealth in your hands. The world is about to witness your rise, not because you worked harder, but because you spoke with authority. Not because you begged louder, but because you commanded from your throne. Not because you hoped stronger, but because you decreed from law. Your mouth is the seed of your dominion. Your word is your wealth. Your voice is your victory. Speak it into existence, now and forever, and so it is.
Everything that is happening right now, every challenge, every delay, every unanswered prayer is not working against you, it is working for you. What you call a setback is often divine strategy. What feels like loss is usually rearrangement. The visible may not yet reflect your faith, but the invisible has already shifted in your favor. There is a sacred law in motion, unseen but unbreakable, that responds not to appearances, but to conviction. The world mirrors the state of your inner belief. When you stand in the quiet assurance that your desire is already fulfilled, you begin to move through life differently. You stop chasing and start allowing. You stop worrying and start knowing. Do not be deceived by the silence of your current season. The seed you have planted in faith is alive. Just because you cannot see its growth does not mean it is not growing. Roots are forming beneath the soil. The foundation is being laid for something enduring. That delay is protection. That pause is preparation. Nothing is wasted when you trust God's timing. The most powerful moment in your life is the one where you refuse to give up. The world may say it's over. The evidence may contradict your hope. But in that sacred stillness, when you choose to persist, when you choose to believe that all things are still working for your good, heaven moves. The unseen rearranges itself to honor your fate. You were never meant to live by sight alone. You were meant to live by inner vision, the conviction that the end is already accomplished. See yourself already there. Feel the reality of what you desire. Speak from it, walk from it, live from it, not toward it. Because when you live as if it is done, life itself begins to conspire to make it so. So keep going. Even when the door closes, keep walking. Even when the path seems uncertain, trust the one who orders your steps. You are not being delayed, you are being aligned. Every detour is divine direction. Every obstacle is shaping your strength. Don't give up now. You're closer than you think. Everything is working in your favor, not by accident, but by design. The moment you decide to believe, the universe begins to rearrange itself to reflect that decision. Keep your faith steady. Keep your heart open. Keep your vision alive. because in due time, what you've been waiting for will meet you, not as something distant, but as something you've already become. Everything, even this, is working in your favor. Trust God and keep going. There is a hidden harmony running through every event in your life, a quiet rhythm that weaves even the most painful moments into divine perfection. What seems like chaos is not disorder. It is design in disguise. There are no accidents in the language of the universe. Every disappointment, every delay, every detour is a sacred thread in the greater tapestry being woven for your ultimate good. You may not see the pattern now, but one day you will look back and realize that every thread, even the dark ones, gave depth and beauty to your story. The human mind often judges by fragments. It sees only the small portion of the picture and declares it unfair, incomplete, or meaningless. But the divine perspective sees the whole, the beginning, the middle, and the end as one. You are living through the brush strokes of a masterpiece that has already been completed in the mind of God. What you call a problem is often the very process by which your prayer is being answered. The difficulty is not punishment, it is preparation. The confusion is not the end, it is the rearrangement of your circumstances to align with the destiny you once asked for. When you face challenges, it is easy to believe that life has turned against you. But what if those very moments are the invisible hands of grace shaping you, refining you, and positioning you for something greater? Sometimes you lose what you thought you needed so that you can receive what your spirit truly desired. Sometimes doors close not to deny you, but to redirect you toward the path of fulfillment. You are not being pushed back, you are being placed precisely where you belong. This hidden harmony is not random, it is intelligent, deliberate, and deeply loving. It knows when to withhold and when to release, when to delay and when to deliver. When you learn to trust that intelligence, peace becomes your companion. You begin to rest in the knowing that all is well, even when nothing seems well. You start to see the divine fingerprints in every event, the delay that saved you, the rejection that redirected you, the failure that awakened your strength. Life is not against you. Life is working through you. The universe is not punishing you. It is teaching you how to align with your higher self, with your purpose, with the unseen rhythm of grace. The moment you stop resisting what is and begin to trust the unfolding, you open the door for miracles. You realize that even the pain had a purpose. So when things do not go your way, whisper to yourself, this too is part of the plan. Trust the process you cannot yet see. Beneath the surface, the hidden harmony is at work, arranging every circumstance, guiding every step, and ensuring that all things in the end will work together for your highest good. Faith is not hope stretched thin over uncertainty. It is the inner certainty that what you desire is already yours. True faith does not wait for evidence to appear, it creates the evidence. It lives from the end, not toward it. It sees the invisible as already visible, the distant as already near, the prayer as already answered. Faith is not a struggle to believe, it is a calm knowing, a sacred assurance that what has been conceived in the mind is already complete in the unseen. When you live from faith, you no longer beg for signs or proof. You no longer ask, when will it happen? Because you know that it already has, not in time, but in truth. Faith collapses the distance between desire and fulfillment. It takes the invisible idea and clothes it in feeling, and that feeling becomes the bridge between what is imagined and what is experienced. The one who truly believes walks as if the promise has already been kept. They speak as if the result is already done. They rest not in delay, but in divine certainty. The mistake many make is thinking faith begins when things look possible, but true faith begins when there is no evidence at all, when everything around you contradicts the vision within. It is easy to trust when the path is clear. Real faith walks confidently through the fog, knowing that every step will reveal the next. It does not depend on circumstances, it shapes them. Faith is the unseen architect of every visible miracle. When you live from the end, you embody the energy of fulfillment. You no longer pray as one who lacks, but as one who gives thanks. You shift from asking to assuming, from hoping to knowing. You begin to think, feel, and act from the reality you have claimed in spirit. And as you hold that inner state, as you persist in that invisible knowing, life rearranges itself to mirror your conviction. The world is but a reflection of the faith you carry within. The universe always responds to inner certainty, not outer desperation. It is not the one who tries hardest who manifests a promise. It is the one who quietly knows it is done. The stillness of faith has more power than the noise of fear. The calm assurance of fulfillment draws all necessary conditions, people, and opportunities into alignment. You do not chase what is yours. You magnetize it through conviction. So stop waiting for proof to believe. Proof will come once you no longer need it. Do not wait for signs. Become the sign. Live each day from the consciousness that your prayer is already answered, your dream already fulfilled. Feel the joy of it, the gratitude of it, the peace of it. Right now, that feeling is faith, and that faith is the force that moves mountains, opens doors, and turns unseen potential into visible reality. Life is a mirror, faithfully reflecting the state of your inner world. Every circumstance, every encounter, every event is a response to the assumptions you hold within yourself. You may think life happens to you, but it is always happening through you. The outer world is not the cause, it is the effect. It is the visible echo of your invisible beliefs. When you change what you assume to be true about yourself and your life, the reflection must also change. This is the law of reflection, unbreakable, impartial, and always at work. If you walk through life believing that things are against you, the world will confirm that belief. You will meet resistance, delay, and disappointment because that is the vibration you have accepted as true. But the moment you shift within, when you begin to trust that life is for you, that things are working in your favor, a quiet transformation begins. People respond differently, doors open that once seemed sealed. The same world rearranges itself to match the new state of your mind. Your outer experience is a living mirror of your inner assumption. If you want to see kindness, you must assume kindness. If you desire abundance, you must assume abundance. You cannot receive what you secretly doubt. You can only attract what you inwardly accept as real. The mirror does not argue, it reflects. And just as a physical mirror cannot show you a smile until you first smile, life cannot show you fulfillment until you first embody it within. This is why your inner conversation is sacred. The thoughts you repeatedly entertain are not harmless. They are creative. Every time you affirm lack, fear, or limitation, you send that image into the mirror of life, and life reflects it back. But when you affirm peace, gratitude, and trust, those two must return to you. The outer world always says yes to your inner state. The power lies not in changing circumstances, but in changing consciousness. When you trust deeply that things are working out, even when nothing inside supports that trust, you plant the seed of a new reflection. The mirror may take time to adjust, but it always will. The unseen begins to shift long before the visible catches up. Faith in divine order, in unseen alignment, draws harmony into form. When challenges appear, do not fight the reflection. Instead, adjust the image within. Ask yourself, what am I assuming to be true right now? Then choose again. Choose faith over fear, peace over panic, assurance over doubt. As you hold that new state, life cannot help but follow. The law of reflection is both humbling and empowering. It means nothing is truly against you, everything is responding to you. The moment you align your inner world with trust, gratitude, and expectation of good, the mirror of life begins to shine that goodness back. Trust it, and you will see your world transform before your eyes. Persistence is the invisible bridge between desire and fulfillment. It is the quiet strength that holds on when nothing seems to move, the inner conviction that refuses to let go of what the heart has already claimed as true. The visible delay is never a sign of denial. It is the evidence that something deeper is taking place, something unseen, something sacred. The seed has been planted, but every seed must first germinate in darkness before it breaks through the soil into light. Your task is not to dig it up in doubt, but to keep watering it with belief. So often, people surrender just before the moment of manifestation. They look at their circumstances, see no visible progress, and conclude that nothing is happening. But just because you cannot see growth does not mean growth is absent. Beneath the surface, forces are aligning, roots are spreading, and timing is being perfected. Life's process is quiet, but it is never still. Your faith is not being ignored. It is being tested, strengthened, and refined into something unshakable. Persistence is not about struggling harder. It is about standing firm in inner certainty. It is the choice to believe that what you have imagined is already accomplished in spirit, even when the senses insist otherwise. The delay is not to discourage you. It is to train you to live from the end, to anchor your faith in what is unseen rather than in what is visible. The one who persists without wavering becomes the vessel through which the invisible takes form. Every great manifestation is born out of persistence. Think of the farmer who plants his seeds and walks away knowing that growth will come in its own time. He does not demand instant results. He does not dig up the soil every morning to check if the roots are growing. He simply trusts the process and continues to prepare for the harvest. So it is with faith. When you persist, you declare, it is done. Even when the field looks empty, you continue to act, speak, and think from the reality of fulfillment. The universe honors persistence because persistence is the language of faith. It tells creation that you truly believe, that your desire is not a passing wish, but a settled conviction. Each time you choose faith over fear, patience over panic, you add power to the unseen momentum working in your favor. Do not measure your progress by what you can see. Measure it by the steadiness of your belief. The visible will always catch up with the invisible. When you hold your ground, when you refuse to abandon your inner vision, the seed must break open. The soil cannot hold it forever. Keep believing, even when nothing moves. Keep walking even when the path feels uncertain. The waiting season is not wasted, it is sacred. The seed is alive beneath the surface, and your persistence is the sunlight that will draw it forth into reality. There is a rhythm to life, a sacred timing that orchestrates every event with precision far beyond human understanding. Nothing happens by chance, and nothing arrives too early or too late. Everything unfolds exactly when it should. Divine timing is not delay, it is alignment. It ensures that you receive not merely what you want, but what you are ready to hold. What may appear as a setback is often the quiet rearrangement of circumstances preparing you for a greater elevation. The waiting is not punishment, it is protection. When doors close or opportunities seem to pass by, it is easy to feel forgotten. Yet in truth, something deeper is being prepared, not just around you, but within you. The universe will not deliver what your hands are unready to carry. It refines your patience, shapes your character, and strengthens your faith, so that when your moment comes, you are not overwhelmed by it, but expanded through it. The delay is the divine's way of ensuring that your foundation is strong enough to sustain your blessing. The human mind, bound by time, often mistakes divine order for disorder. We want instant answers and visible progress. But divine timing flows beyond human schedules. It sees the tapestry that we cannot. It aligns people, events, and possibilities in ways that are invisible to us. While you wait, unseen connections are forming, unseen paths are being cleared, and unseen grace is setting the stage for what you have asked for. If you were to receive your desire too soon, it would not have the same power, purpose, or permanence. Every season has its appointed purpose. The winter that feels lifeless is quietly nurturing the roots of spring. The silence you call delay is often the space in which divine alignment takes shape. The lesson is not to rush the process, but to rest in trust. To know that when the time is right, everything will come together effortlessly. The right people, the right doors, and the right opportunities will appear without struggle, because they were meant for you. What you perceive as setbacks are really sacred preparations. The job that didn't work out, the relationship that ended, the plan that fell apart, each one was redirecting you to something higher, something truer to your divine path. When you look back, you will see that nothing was wasted and everything fit perfectly into the pattern of your becoming. Divine timing does not ask for your impatience. It asks for your surrender. When you stop fighting the flow and begin to trust the order, peace replaces anxiety. You stop asking when and start saying thank you. You realize that every pause, every delay, every detour carried a blessing that only hindsight could reveal. So be still and trust. The divine clock never misses a second. What is meant for you is already moving toward you, and when the time is right, it will arrive. Not as something forced, but as something beautifully aligned with who you have become. There comes a moment in every journey when progress seems invisible, when every prayer feels unanswered and every step forward feels like standing still. It is in these quiet, uncertain spaces that faith is truly tested. Yet it is also here that the unseen begins its sacred work. Even when nothing appears to be happening, your faith is not idle. It is moving mountains in silence. It is reconfiguring circumstances, aligning opportunities, and preparing a path you cannot yet see. What seems still is not still. It is divine motion, hidden beneath the surface of your waiting. Faith is not proven in the moments of ease, but in the moments when everything around you contradicts what you believe. It is easy to trust when life flows smoothly, but real faith keeps walking when the road disappears. It says, I will move forward anyway, even when the way ahead is covered in fog. Faith is the power that builds the bridge while you are walking on it. Each step you take in trust causes the unseen path to reveal itself, one piece at a time. There is something sacred about movement and faith. When you keep walking, you show the universe that you are not waiting for proof. You are the proof. You declare through action that you believe something greater is at work, that God is orchestrating what your eyes cannot yet confirm. This quiet confidence invites divine alignment. The doors that were once closed begin to shift. The opportunities that seem distant begin to draw nearer, not because you forced them, but because your faith called them forth through persistence. The unseen responds to movement. When you take a single step in trust, heaven takes 10 toward you. What you think is stillness is actually rearrangement. People being positioned, details being perfected, timing being synchronized. If you could see the invisible coordination of grace working behind the scenes, you would never doubt again. But you are not meant to see it. You are meant to believe it. Every act of faith carries creative power. When you refuse to give in to fear, when you keep speaking life over your situation, when you choose hope instead of despair, you activate a divine sequence of events that must eventually reveal your victory. You may not understand how, but your faith guarantees that it will. Tu gong tayan garbol. So keep walking, keep believing. Do not stop just because you cannot see the full picture. The unseen realm is alive with movement, aligning, shifting, and preparing. Your steps of faith are not in vain. They are the key that unlocks the way forward. One day soon, what was invisible will become undeniable. The path will open, and you will realize that every step taken in faith was a step toward the fulfillment of a promise that never stopped working in your favor. Everything you've heard today leads back to one timeless truth. Life is always working for you, not against you. Every unseen delay, every silent season, every closed door is a divine setup for your greater good. When you trust the process, when you live with quiet assurance that what you desire is already yours, the whole universe begins to move in harmony with your faith. The hidden harmony of life, the certainty of faith, the mirror of your assumptions, the power of persistence, the perfection of divine timing, and the courage to keep walking. All these are threads of the same divine fabric, woven together to remind you that you are never forgotten and never alone. So when life feels uncertain, remind yourself, everything is working in my favor. Keep believing, even when the evidence is missing. Keep walking, even when the path is unclear. The way will open, the promise will unfold, and you will see that every step, even the painful ones, was preparing you for the beauty now on its way. Thank you for joining me today. May your heart stay strong in faith, your mind stay aligned with peace, and your spirit never stop trusting that divine hands are guiding every detail of your life. Keep moving forward, and remember, the best is not behind you. It's becoming visible right before you.
Good evening, my dear friends. Tonight I'm going to teach you something that will completely transform how you approach manifestation. Most people treat their desires like destinations on a map. They see themselves here, and their wish fulfilled over there, and they spend all their energy trying to close that gap. But I'm going to show you tonight that there is no gap to close. There is no distance to travel. There is no journey to make. There is only an assumption to occupy, and once you occupy it, you must walk in it. Not visit it for 20 minutes during meditation. Not think about it occasionally throughout your day. Walk in it, live in it, move through your entire life from within that assumption. This continuous occupation of your desired state is what separates those who manifest from those who struggle. They walk in the assumption. They don't just visit it. When you walk somewhere, you don't stand still and think about walking. You don't visualize your legs moving. You don't affirm, I am walking. You just walk. You inhabit the action completely. It's natural, automatic, something you do without conscious effort or constant self-monitoring. You don't wake up each morning convincing yourself you can walk. You simply walk when you need to walk, and you don't question it. This is how you must relate to your assumption. When I say walk in the assumption, I mean inhabit it so completely, so naturally, so automatically, that you stop thinking about whether you're doing it right. You're not trying to walk in it. You're not practicing walking in it. You're just walking in it, naturally, effortlessly, as your new normal. Here's where most people fail. They create an assumption, let's say wealth. They might even feel wealthy during meditation. But then they finish their practice and immediately return to walking in poverty consciousness. They check their bank account with anxiety. They make decisions from scarcity. They worry about bills. They think thoughts of lack all day long. And then at night they meditate on wealth for 20 minutes. They're visiting the assumption of wealth. But they're walking in the assumption of poverty. And it's the assumption you walk in, the one you inhabit all day long, the one that shapes your thoughts, feelings, decisions, and actions, that creates your reality, not the one you visit during spiritual practice. You can't walk in poverty for 23 hours and walk in wealth for 1 hour and expect to manifest wealth, because consciousness creates reality based on where you actually live, not where you occasionally visit. You must walk in your desired assumption all day, every day, until it becomes your natural state. Let me give you specific examples. If you're walking in the assumption of wealth, when you wake up, your first thoughts aren't about money problems. You think from abundance. When you check your bank account, you don't do it with anxiety. You look calmly, knowing the number is temporary. When you make purchases, you decide from a mentality of having plenty, even if the account doesn't reflect it yet. When bills arrive, you handle them practically while maintaining that money flows to you easily. When opportunities appear, you accept them naturally, expecting good things. You walk through your entire day thinking, feeling, deciding, and acting from the consciousness of wealth. If you're walking in the assumption of being loved, you don't wake up feeling lonely. You feel cherished from the moment you open your eyes. You don't analyze interactions, looking for proof. You move through the world knowing you're valued. You don't tolerate disrespect. You naturally expect to be treated well. You don't seek validation. You're already validated by the love you know you have. You walk through your day from the consciousness of being deeply, completely loved. Do you see the difference between this and just thinking about being loved for a few minutes before bed? Walking in the assumption means it becomes your operating system, not an app you open occasionally. Here's what most people don't understand. Walking in the assumption is a decision, not a feeling you wait for. You don't wait until you feel wealthy to walk in the assumption of wealth. You decide to walk in it, and the feeling follows. The assumption comes first. The feeling comes second. The manifestation comes third. Most people reverse this. They think, when I feel wealthy, I'll walk in wealth consciousness. But you'll never feel it if you're not walking in it. Feelings follow assumptions, not the other way around. So you make a decision, today I walk in the assumption of wealth. Regardless of what my bank account shows, regardless of how I currently feel, regardless of what circumstances suggest, I walk in wealth. And then you do it. You make every thought, every feeling, every decision, every action come from that place. You walk in the assumption by choosing it, moment by moment, until it becomes automatic. At first, walking in a new assumption will feel unnatural. You'll wobble, you'll forget, you'll slip back, you'll wake up worrying about money. Then remember, wait, I'm walking in wealth now. You'll catch yourself making a decision from scarcity. Then correct, no, that's not where I walk anymore. This is normal. This is how you learn to walk in a new assumption. At first, it requires conscious effort. You have to remind yourself constantly. You have to correct yourself frequently. But if you persist, if you keep choosing the assumption, keep redirecting to it, keep walking in it despite the wobbles, it becomes easier, more natural, more automatic. Eventually you stop thinking about it. You just naturally think, feel, and act from that assumption because you've walked in it so consistently that it's become who you are. So how to walk throughout your day? Morning. The moment you wake up, before checking the news or thinking about problems, occupy your assumption. If you're assuming wealth, feel financially secure. Let that be your first conscious experience of the day. Spend the first few minutes walking in your assumption before the world can pull you into your old state. Throughout the day, do this. Every moment is a choice. Every thought is an opportunity to walk in your desired state. Set reminders if needed. Every hour, am I walking in my assumption right now, or have I slipped back? When you notice you've slipped, don't judge yourself. Just return. Choose again. Walk in the assumption again. In the evening. Before bed, review your day, not based on external events, but on how well you maintained your assumption. Did you walk in wealth today, or in poverty? Then, as you drift to sleep, return to your assumption one more time. Feel it. Let it be the last state you occupy before sleep. You're training yourself to walk in this assumption so consistently that it becomes your permanent state. When you truly walk in an assumption, your thoughts automatically align with it. Your feelings naturally match it. Your decisions reflect it. Your actions express it. When you walk in an assumption, your entire being organizes itself around that assumption. And when your entire being reflects your assumption, the three-dimensional world must reorganize itself to match. The external world always shows you the assumption you're walking in. If you don't like what you see, don't try to change the external world directly. Change the assumption you're walking in. Start walking in wealth instead of poverty. Start walking in love instead of loneliness. Start walking in success instead of struggle. And watch as the external world shifts to reflect your new state. Here's the most challenging part. You must walk in your assumption even when the external evidence contradicts it. You start walking in wealth, and then the bill arrives. The bank account stays the same. Your mind screams, see, this isn't working. Look at the evidence. But the external evidence is always showing you your past assumption, not your current one. What you see in the three-dimensional world is the materialization of the assumption you were walking in days, weeks, or months ago. During the interval between assumption and manifestation, you must continue walking in the new assumption despite the old evidence. You acknowledge reality practically, you pay the bill, you handle the situation. But internally, you remain walking in your new state. This is old information. This is the past made visible. But I'm walking in a new assumption now, and this new assumption is creating a new reality, and you keep walking in it. Understand this clearly. You don't wait for proof before you walk in the assumption. You walk in the assumption, and then the proof appears. Most people think, show me the money, and then I'll walk in wealth consciousness. But consciousness doesn't work that way. You must walk in wealth consciousness first. Occupy that state. Live from it. Make it your natural way of being. And then after you've walked in it consistently, faithfully, persistently, the external money must appear. The proof doesn't create the state. The state creates the proof. First the assumption, then the walking, then the manifestation. This is always the order. Always. Tonight, make a decision. Choose one assumption. Just one. The most important one to you right now. Wealth, love, health, success. Whatever matters most. And decide starting tomorrow morning, I walk in this assumption. Not I'll try. Not I'll walk in it when I feel like it. I walk in it, period. Tomorrow morning, before anything else, occupy that assumption. Feel it. Experience it. Throughout your day, keep choosing it. Keep returning to it. Keep walking in it. When you wobble, return. When you forget, remember. When you slip, choose again. Walk in that assumption for 7 days straight. Not perfectly, but persistently. And at the end of 7 days, notice what's different. Because when you truly walk in an assumption, when you make it your lived experience rather than your occasional practice, everything changes. If you walk in your assumption faithfully, consistently, persistently, if you make it your natural state rather than a state you visit, it must manifest. Consciousness creates reality. The assumption you walk in is your consciousness made visible. Walk in poverty, create poverty. Walk in wealth, create wealth. The choice is yours, but once you choose it, you must walk in it. Choose your assumption. Occupy it. Live from it. Think from it. Feel from it. Act from it. Walk in it. And watch as your entire world transforms to match the state you've chosen to inhabit. Thank you for being here tonight. Remember, you're not trying to get somewhere. You're already there in assumption. Now walk in it. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.
This is the turning point. Not because something outside of you has suddenly changed, but because something within you has settled into certainty. There comes a moment when effort dissolves, when striving gives way to knowing, and that moment is now. Everything is coming together because you have already agreed within yourself that it must. What you call a delay was never absence, it was preparation. Events, people, and circumstances have been rearranging themselves quietly, obediently, responding to the inner position you have maintained. Even when nothing seemed to move, everything was moving. The unseen always moves first. You are not standing at the edge of possibility. You are standing at the door of fulfillment. The only requirement now is readiness to receive. Receiving is not forcing. Receiving is allowing what you have already accepted as true to step into visibility. The world reflects what you have impressed upon your own awareness, and your awareness has reached the point of agreement. Notice how resistance fades when you stop asking if and begin knowing when. That knowing is the signal, that calm expectancy is the evidence. The moment you no longer chase, what you desire begins to pursue you. This is the law of alignment in motion. You did not imagine this desire by accident. It arose because its fulfillment already exists in possibility and sought expression through you. Your role was never to create it through struggle, but to consent to it through belief. And that consent has been given. Now, life rearranges itself naturally. Conversations happen at the right time. Opportunities appear without strain. Solutions arrive before problems fully form. What once required effort now unfolds with ease because you are no longer trying to make it happen. Stand still inwardly. Hold the feeling of completion. Act from the certainty that it is done, not from the hope that it will be. The outer world has no choice but to follow the inner command. This is the turning point. Everything is coming together. Get ready, not to chase, not to force, but to receive what has already been set in motion the moment you believed it was yours. This moment marks the invisible shift where the inner assumption becomes outer fact. It is not loud, dramatic, or announced by sudden signs, yet it is the most powerful movement you will ever experience. It happens quietly, in the depth of awareness, when belief stops wavering and settles into certainty. Nothing on the surface may appear different at first, but beneath appearances, the direction of your life has already changed. An inner assumption is more than a thought you repeat, it is a state you occupy. When you assume something to be true, you no longer argue with it, question it, or try to prove it, you simply live from it. The moment you begin to rest in that assumption, the outer world starts rearranging itself to match it. This is not a future event. It is an immediate process, though its expression takes time to be seen. For a while, the old conditions may still appear, creating the illusion that nothing has shifted, but these are echoes of past beliefs, lingering impressions that have not yet dissolved. The invisible shift has already occurred, and the visible world is merely catching up. When you understand this, impatience loses its power. You no longer react to appearances because you know they are temporary and obedient to the inner command you have already given. At this stage, effort becomes unnecessary. Trying implies doubt, and doubt interrupts the flow. The shift happens when you stop trying to make things change and instead allow them to unfold. You move differently. You speak differently. You respond to life from a place of quiet confidence. This change in being is subtle, but it is unmistakable to the deeper laws that govern experience. The outer fact is not created by force, but by alignment. Every conversation, opportunity, and encounter begins to line up naturally with your accepted truth. Doors open without struggle. Help arrives without being asked. What once felt distant now feels inevitable. This is how inner agreement becomes outer evidence. You may notice a calm sense of expectancy, a gentle knowing that what you desire is already on its way. This feeling is the signature of the shift. It is not excitement mixed with anxiety, but peace mixed with certainty. When this state is reached, the outcome is sealed. The world must conform because it has no choice but to reflect the state you consistently occupy. Remain faithful to this inner position. Do not look to circumstances for reassurance. The fact that you can feel the reality of fulfillment within is proof that the seed has already been planted. In the proper moment, without strain or surprise, the outer world will reveal what the inner world has long accepted as true. What once felt delayed is now aligning with precision beyond human logic. There are moments in life when waiting seems endless, when progress appears stalled and movement invisible. Yet delay is never emptiness, it is orchestration. What you perceived as stillness was the careful positioning of countless elements, each finding its exact place so that fulfillment could arrive without friction. Human logic measures time in minutes and outcomes in steps, but the deeper order of life moves by readiness and alignment. If something appeared late, it was because arriving early would have disrupted the harmony required for it to remain. Nothing meaningful arrives before the inner and outer conditions can support it. What feels postponed is often being protected. During the waiting, unseen adjustments are made, perspectives shift, strength is built quietly, discernment deepens. You become capable of receiving what once would have overwhelmed you. Meanwhile, people, circumstances, and opportunities are being arranged in ways no conscious effort could calculate. Every delay removes what does not belong, and preserves what does. Now the alignment begins to show itself. The pieces that once felt scattered start to converge with surprising accuracy. Conversations occur at exactly the right moment. Paths cross naturally. Answers emerge without being chased. This is not coincidence. It is synchronization. When the inner state reaches agreement, the outer world responds with order that feels almost miraculous. Beyond human logic means beyond strain. You are not required to figure out how it will happen or who will make it possible. The moment you release the need to control the process accelerates. What could not be forced now flows. What resisted effort now responds to allowance. You may notice that events unfold effortlessly, as if guided by an intelligence greater than planning. Opportunities appear where obstacles once stood. What once demanded constant attention now resolves itself. This ease is the sign that alignment has been achieved. The struggle belonged to the former state. The flow belongs to the present one. Trust becomes essential here. Doubt pulls you back into old timing, old logic, old resistance. Alignment requires faithfulness to the knowing that what is forming is exact, not random. Each detail serves a purpose, even if the purpose is not yet visible. As precision replaces confusion, you realize that nothing was wasted. Every pause refined you. Every setback redirected you. Every unanswered moment prepared the ground. Now, what emerges does so with clarity and stability, not chaos. Stand still inwardly and allow this alignment to complete itself. There is nothing to rush and nothing to fix. What once felt delayed was never denied. It was being positioned with care beyond human reasoning, so that when it arrived, it would fit perfectly into your life and remain. Your inner acceptance has activated forces already moving on your behalf. The moment you stopped resisting the possibility of fulfillment and quietly agreed that it could be yours, a shift took place that did not require your supervision. Acceptance is not passive resignation. It is decisive consent. It is the inner yes that sets unseen mechanisms into motion without asking for permission from circumstance or logic. When you accept something inwardly, you impress it upon the deepest level of awareness. From that point forward, life responds automatically. You no longer need to chase outcomes, convince people, or manipulate situations. The agreement has already been made, and the response is already underway. What follows is not effort, but unfolding. These forces do not announce themselves. They operate silently through natural channels, through timing, intuition, chance meetings, and subtle shifts in direction. You may feel guided to make a small decision without knowing why, or you may feel an urge to pause rather than push. Each of these movements is part of a larger coordination that began the moment acceptance replaced doubt. Before acceptance, energy is divided. One part desires, another part questions. This division slows manifestation because it sends conflicting signals. Acceptance resolves the conflict. It unifies intention and belief, and unity is power. When there is no inner argument, progress becomes inevitable. You may still encounter appearances that contradict what you have accepted, but they no longer have authority. They are remnants of former assumptions, fading impressions that have not yet caught up to your present state. Reacting to them only revives the old pattern. Remaining calm allows the activated forces to complete their work uninterrupted. As acceptance deepens, you notice a change in how life responds to you. Opportunities arrive without being forced. Assistance comes without being requested. Delays dissolve without explanation. This is not luck. It is alignment. The world mirrors your inner posture with exactness. Your role now is simple. Remain loyal to what you have accepted as true. Do not rehearse the old story. Do not look for signs as proof. Acceptance itself is the sign. The very peace you feel is evidence that the work has moved beyond your conscious effort. Forces already in motion cannot be stopped by impatience or doubt unless you withdraw your acceptance. Stay steady. Trust the process you initiated. What has been activated knows its path and its timing. In the proper moment, results will surface naturally, without struggle or surprise. When they do, they will feel familiar, almost expected, because inwardly you have already lived them. This is the power of inner acceptance. It moves life for you while you remain still within. The turning point arrives quietly, but its results are unmistakable. It does not announce itself with noise or drama, nor does it demand immediate recognition. Often it slips in unnoticed, disguised as an ordinary moment, a subtle change in feeling or a calm sense of knowing. Yet from that instant onward, the direction of life is altered in a way that cannot be reversed. Nothing on the surface seems different. The same circumstances may still be present, and familiar challenges may appear unchanged. But inwardly, something has settled. The struggle eases. The constant questioning softens. You no longer feel the need to prove, push, or persuade. This inner stillness is the signal that the turning point has occurred. What makes this moment powerful is its certainty. Once it arrives, doubt loses its grip. You may still encounter uncertainty in the outer world, but it no longer penetrates your inner state. You move through situations with a quiet confidence, responding rather than reacting. This shift in being is small in appearance, yet immense in consequence. Because the turning point happens within, its effects unfold naturally without force. Life begins to cooperate in subtle ways. People show up at the right time. Circumstances realign without explanation. Obstacles that once felt immovable begin to dissolve or lose relevance. These changes may seem coincidental, but they are precise reflections of the inner shift that has already taken place. The unmistakable results often appear gradually, building momentum without strain. What once required effort now flows. Decisions become clearer. Timing improves. Opportunities present themselves in ways that feel almost inevitable. You find yourself in the right place at the right moment, not because you planned it, but because you were aligned for it. The quiet nature of the turning point protects it. Without noise or spectacle, there is nothing to defend or explain. It grows undisturbed, strengthening through consistency rather than excitement. This is why lasting change does not begin with sudden bursts of emotion, but with steady inner agreement. Even when challenges arise, they no longer discourage you. You understand that they are transitional, part of the rearrangement process. Instead of resistance, there is patience. Instead of fear, there is trust. You remain anchored in the knowing that something fundamental has shifted. The outer results become impossible to ignore. The change that began silently now stands visible and solid. Circumstances confirm what you already knew within. When this happens, it does not feel surprising, it feels natural, as though life has finally caught up with a decision you made long ago. This is the nature of true turning points. They arrive quietly, almost invisibly, but once they do, everything that follows bears their unmistakable mark. Receiving begins the moment you stop waiting and start allowing. Waiting implies that something is absent, that fulfillment exists somewhere outside of you and has not yet decided to arrive. Allowing, on the other hand, is the inner recognition that what you desire is already prepared and simply needs your permission to appear. The shift from waiting to allowing is subtle, but it changes everything. When you wait, your attention is fixed on lack. Even hopeful waiting carries tension, because it places fulfillment in the future. Allowing releases that tension. It is a state of openness, a relaxed readiness that does not demand proof before peace. In allowing, you stop monitoring time and circumstances, and in doing so, you remove the resistance that delays reception. Allowing does not mean doing nothing, it means doing less internally. It is the choice to stop arguing with possibility. You no longer rehearse reasons why it might not work or why it hasn't happened yet. You soften your grip and trust the movement already in progress. This inner relaxation signals readiness far more powerfully than effort ever could. The moment allowing begins, your relationship with life changes. You listen more closely. You notice subtle impulses and gentle nudges that previously went unheard. You follow inspiration without forcing outcomes. These small, natural actions become pathways through which receiving flows effortlessly. Often, what blocks receiving is not unworthiness but control. The need to dictate how and when something should arrive closes the door you are trying to open. Allowing hands that control back to the deeper order that understands timing and sequence better than conscious planning ever could. As you allow, you may feel a quiet relief, as though a burden has been set down. This feeling is not indifference, it is trust. It is the confidence that what belongs to you cannot miss you. From this state, impatience fades and comparison loses its power. You are no longer watching others or counting days. You are present. Receiving then becomes natural. It shows up in unexpected ways, through ease, through alignment, through outcomes that feel almost obvious in hindsight. You realize that the moment you stopped waiting, life had room to respond. Remain in this openness. Do not return to watching the clock or measuring progress. Allowing is sustained by faithfulness to the feeling of readiness. Stay receptive, calm, and available. What you are prepared to receive does not need to be chased. It moves toward you the moment you make space for it. Receiving begins not with arrival, but with permission. And permission is given the instant you stop waiting and start allowing. What you have persisted in believing is now ready to take form. Persistence is not loud repetition or constant effort. It is quiet loyalty to an inner truth, even when outer conditions offered no evidence to support it. Every time you chose to remain faithful to your belief despite appearances, you strengthened it. What once existed only as an idea has matured through consistency and is now prepared to express itself visibly. Belief becomes powerful when it is sustained. Fleeting thoughts have little effect, but assumed truths shape reality. By returning again and again to the same inner position, you impress it deeply upon awareness. Over time, doubt weakened, resistance softened, and certainty took root. This inner stability is what allows belief to move from possibility into form. The outer world responds only when belief becomes natural. When you no longer strain to believe, when it feels ordinary rather than extraordinary, the conditions for manifestation are complete. At that point, effort is replaced by inevitability. Life does not ask if it should respond, it simply does. You may not have noticed the exact moment when belief shifted into readiness, because it happened gradually. Each quiet reaffirmation, each refusal to abandon your inner vision contributed to this turning. Even periods of uncertainty served a purpose, refining your commitment and clarifying what you truly desired. Now, what emerges does so with balance and precision. It is not rushed, because it no longer needs to prove itself. It appears naturally, fitting into your life as though it always belonged there. This is the sign of a belief that has reached maturity. As form begins to appear, remain steady. Do not return to questioning or analysis. The temptation to check progress can interrupt flow. Trust that what is unfolding is exact and complete. Your task is not to interfere, but to remain aligned with the certainty that carried you this far. You may notice that circumstances shift in small, meaningful ways before the full expression appears. These are confirmations, not tests. Acknowledge them calmly without attaching urgency. Confidence allows completion. That belief persisted internally long before it could be seen externally. The same law applies now. Once belief is ready to take form, it moves forward without resistance. It does not need encouragement, and it does not respond to fear. Stay rooted in the knowing that what you held onto through silence, delay, and uncertainty has not been wasted. It has been preparing. Now, in its own appointed moment, it steps into visibility, carrying with it the strength of every moment you chose to believe when there was no proof. As you come to the end of this message, remember that nothing shared here points to something distant or uncertain. It points to what is already unfolding within you and around you. The shifts described are not future promises. They are present movements, quietly reshaping your reality in response to what you have accepted, allowed, and persisted in believing. You are not waiting for life to change. Life is already responding to the change you made inwardly. Trust the stillness you feel now. Trust the calm certainty that has replaced effort and struggle. That calm is not emptiness, it is alignment. Everything is coming together because you are no longer resisting what is meant to arrive. Stay loyal to this inner knowing and let the outer world complete its reflection in its own perfect way. Thank you for listening.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I am going to take you on a journey beyond the physical world you think is real. I am going to show you a dimension that exists right now, in this very moment, where every version of your life already exists in perfect completion. This dimension is not somewhere far away. It is not in some distant galaxy or alternate universe. It is here now, accessible to you this very instant. And once you learn to enter this dimension and operate from it, manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable and instantaneous. I call this dimension the 5D world, the dimension of infinite possibilities. And tonight you will learn not only that it exists, but how to consciously enter it, navigate it, and bring back from it anything you desire into your physical reality. But I must warn you, what I am about to teach you will shatter everything you thought you knew about reality, time, space, and your own power as a conscious creator. Are you ready to leave behind the limitations of the 3D world and step into the infinite? Then let us begin. Now, before we can understand the 5D world, you must first understand the prison that most people live in without even knowing it. This prison has 3 dimensions, and it is so convincing, so seemingly solid, that billions of people never even question its walls. The first dimension is the dimension of physical form. This is the world of matter, of solid objects, of bodies and buildings, and all the things you can touch with your hands. Most people believe this is the only real dimension, that what you can see and touch is all that exists. The second dimension is the dimension of linear time. In this dimension, time moves in only one direction, from past through present to future. You believe you are trapped in this timeline, that yesterday is gone forever and tomorrow has not yet arrived. You believe you must wait for things to happen, that change takes time, that your past determines your future. The third dimension is the dimension of apparent causation. In this dimension, things seem to happen because of external causes. You are poor because of the economy. You are sick because of genetics. You are alone because you have not met the right person. Everything appears to be caused by something outside of you. These 3 dimensions together create what I call the 3D world. And in the 3D world, you are powerless. You are a victim of circumstances. You are subject to the laws of physics, the passage of time, and the actions of other people. You are trapped, limited, and struggling. But here is the truth that will set you free. The 3D world is not the primary reality. It is the shadow, the reflection, the effect. It is what appears when you do not know about the higher dimensions. Now, between the 3D world of physical limitation and the 5D world of infinite possibility lies a bridge. This bridge is what I call the 4D world, the dimension of imagination. In the 4D world, you are no longer bound by physical form. You can be anywhere, be anyone, have anything in an instant. In your imagination, you can be wealthy. You can be loved. You can experience any version of reality you choose. Most people visit the 4D world constantly, but they dismiss it as just imagination, as fantasy, as unreal. They think that their nighttime dreams and their daydreams are meaningless, that only the solid 3D world is real. But I tell you, the 4D world is more real than the 3D world, because the 4D world is where creation happens. Everything that exists in the 3D world was first created in the 4D world of imagination. The chair you sit in, the building you occupy, the house you live in, all of it existed first as imagination before it became physical form. Someone imagined it, and then the 3D world materialized it. But here is what most people do not understand. The 4D world is not just a place to daydream. It is the creative workshop where you can consciously design your reality before it appears in the 3D world. When you learn to use the 4D world intentionally, when you understand that your imagination is not fantasy but the actual mechanism of creation, you begin to have power over your 3D circumstances. But even the 4D world is not the ultimate reality. Beyond the 4D world of imagination lies something far more profound, far more powerful. This is the 5D world, the dimension where all possibilities exist simultaneously in eternal completion. The 5D world is unlike anything you have experienced in the 3D or 4D realms. In the 5D world, there is no time, there is no space, there is no becoming, only being. There is no future to wait for, no past to regret. There is only the eternal now where all things already are. In the 5D world, every possible version of your life exists right now. The wealthy version of you is there. The healthy version of you is there. The loved, successful, fulfilled version of you is there. Not as potential, not as possibility, but as already accomplished reality. Think of the 5D world like a vast library containing every book that could ever be written. Every story, every outcome, every version of your life is a book on the shelf, complete and finished. You are not writing these books. They already exist. Your job is simply to select which book you will read, which reality you will experience. In the 3D world, you believe you must create your desires, that you must work to bring them into existence. In the 4D world, you use imagination to design what you want. But in the 5D world, you simply recognize that what you desire already exists in perfect completion, and you claim it as your reality. This is the great secret. You are not creating anything. You are selecting from infinite pre-existing possibilities. You are not manifesting. You are choosing which already manifested reality you will experience. And when you understand this, when you can consciously enter the 5D world and operate from it, manifestation becomes instant. Because you are not waiting for something to be created. You are simply claiming what already is. Let me explain to you the mechanics of the 5D world, because understanding how it works is essential to using it. In the 5D world, everything exists as pure consciousness, pure potentiality, pure being. There is no form yet, no manifestation in the physical sense, but there is complete and total reality at the level of consciousness. Imagine a radio dial with infinite stations, each station broadcasting a different reality. The reality where you are wealthy is one station. The reality where you are poor is another station. The reality where you are healthy, loved, successful. Each is its own station, all broadcasting simultaneously. In the 3D world, you can only hear one station at a time, the one you are currently tuned to. And because you only hear one station, you believe that is the only reality that exists. But in the 5D world, all stations are broadcasting right now. All realities exist simultaneously. The question is not which reality will come into existence. The question is which reality will you tune into. Your consciousness is the dial. Your assumptions, your beliefs, your habitual thoughts and feelings determine which station you are tuned to. And whichever station you tune to in the 5D world, that is what appears in your 3D experience. Most people are tuned to the station of their current circumstances. They see poverty, so they stay tuned to the poverty station. They experience loneliness, so they remain tuned to the loneliness station. They do not realize they can change the station at any moment. But when you become conscious of the 5D world, when you understand that you can choose which reality to tune into, everything changes. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are the conscious selector of your reality. So how do you actually enter the 5D world? How do you access this dimension where all possibilities exist? The answer is both simple and profound. You enter the 5D world through the doorway of assumption. When you assume something is already true, when you claim a reality as already existing, you are operating from the 5D world. Let me be very specific about how this works. First, you must identify which reality you wish to experience. Not what you want to create, but which already existing reality you wish to claim. Do you wish to experience the reality where you are wealthy, where you are loved, where you are healthy? Second, you must recognize that this reality already exists in the 5D world. It is not something you need to make happen. It is not something you need to manifest. It already is. The wealthy you already exists. The loved you already exists. These are not future possibilities. They are present realities in the dimension of infinite possibilities. Third, you must claim this reality as yours. Not through effort, not through trying to bring it to you, but through simple assumption. You assume this is your reality. You take it as a given fact. You accept it as already true. This assumption is the key that unlocks the door to the 5D world. When you truly assume something is yours, when you claim an already existing reality, you shift your consciousness to that frequency, to that station. And once you are tuned to that station in the 5D world, it must appear in your 3D experience. But here's where most people fail. They try to assume while still identifying with their 3D circumstances. They try to claim the wealthy reality while still seeing themselves as poor. They try to tune to the love station while still feeling lonely. You cannot be in two places at once. You cannot be tuned to two stations simultaneously. You must completely shift your identification from the 3D reality you are experiencing to the 5D reality you are claiming. This brings us to the most important practice, learning to live from the 5D world rather than from the 3D world. Living from the 3D world means you base your thoughts, feelings, and actions on what you currently see in your physical reality. You look at your bank account and think poor thoughts. You notice your empty bed and feel lonely. You check the mirror and think sick thoughts. You are living from the 3D evidence. Living from the 5D world means you base your thoughts, feelings, and actions on the reality you have claimed in the dimension of infinite possibilities. Regardless of what the 3D world shows you, you think, feel, and act from the reality you have selected in the 5D world. When you live from the 5D world, your bank account may show lack, but you think from wealth. Your current circumstances may show loneliness, but you feel from love. Your body may show symptoms, but you identify with the health that already exists in the 5D reality you have claimed. This is not denial. This is not pretending. This is recognizing that the 3D world is showing you yesterday's reality, the old station you were tuned to. But you have now tuned to a new station in the 5D world, and you are waiting for the 3D world to catch up and reflect this new reality. Let me give you a practical example. A man came to me who wanted to experience financial abundance. He had been trying to manifest money for years with no success. He visualized, he affirmed, he worked techniques. Nothing changed. I said to him, stop trying to manifest money. Instead, recognize that in the 5D world, the reality where you are abundantly wealthy already exists right now. Your job is not to create this reality. Your job is to claim it and live from it. I taught him to spend time each day consciously entering the 5D world in his imagination. He would close his eyes and recognize in the infinite dimension of possibilities, there exists a version of me who is abundantly wealthy. That version is as real as any other version. And I now claim that version as my reality. Then throughout his day, whenever his 3D circumstances tried to pull him back into the consciousness of lack, he would remember, I am living from the 5D reality of abundance. What I see in 3D is old news, yesterday's reflection. My new reality is already established in the 5D world and is now making its way into my 3D experience. Within 3 months, money came to him in ways he never expected. Not because he manifested it, but because he tuned into the station where he was already wealthy, and the 3D world reflected this new frequency. One of the most powerful aspects of the 5D world is that time does not exist there. In the 5D dimension, everything exists in the eternal now. Past, present, and future are simultaneous. This means that what you call your future already exists in the 5D world. The life you will be living 5 years from now already exists. Right now in the dimension of infinite possibilities. You are not creating your future. Your future already exists. You are simply selecting which future you will experience. This is why I teach that you can collapse time. When you claim a reality in the 5D world, you are not waiting for it to be created and then appear in your future. You are claiming something that already exists, and the 3D world simply updates to reflect this reality. And the speed at which a 5D reality appears in your 3D experience depends on the intensity and consistency of your assumption. The more completely you live from the 5D reality you have claimed, the faster the 3D world conforms. But understand this, the moment you claim a reality in the 5D world, it is done, it is finished, it is already yours. The appearance in 3D is simply a matter of the denser, slower dimension catching up with the higher, faster dimension. You think of it like watching a video. When you select a video to watch, the entire video already exists on the tape. But your screen can only display it frame by frame, moment by moment. You are not creating the video as you watch it. The video is already complete. You are simply experiencing it in sequence. The same is true for your life. When you claim a reality in the 5D world, the entire reality already exists complete and finished. Your 3D experience is simply playing it out frame by frame, moment by moment. but it is already done the instant you claim it. Here is something profound to understand about the 5D world. Infinite versions of you already exist there. There is a version of you who is wealthy, a version who is poor, a version who is healthy, a version who is sick, a version who is loved, a version who is alone. All of these versions are real. All of them exist right now in the 5D world. The question is not which version will come into existence. The question is which version are you identifying with? Most people identify with the version of themselves that matches their current 3D circumstances. If they are poor in 3D, they identify with the poor version of themselves. If they are sick in 3D, they identify with the sick version. But you have the power to shift your identification at any moment. You can stop identifying with the version of you that matches your current circumstances and start identifying with the version of you that you wish to experience. When you identify with a new version of yourself in the 5D world, you literally become that version. Your consciousness shifts to that frequency. And when your consciousness shifts, your 3D experience must shift to match it. This is not about becoming someone you are not. This is about recognizing that all versions of you already exist and choosing which one you will be. Let me share with you the ultimate truth about this dimension of infinite possibilities. The truth that makes all of this not just possible but inevitable. This dimension is not somewhere else. It is not a place you travel to. This realm of infinite possibilities is what you are. You are not in this dimension. You are this dimension expressing as individual consciousness. All the infinite possibilities that exist here exist within you. You are the library containing every book. You are the radio containing every station. You are the consciousness in which all realities exist. When you claim a reality from this infinite dimension, you are not reaching outside yourself to grab something. You are recognizing what already exists within you and choosing to experience it. This is why assumption works. This is why consciousness creates reality. This is why you are the operant power. Because you are not a small being trying to manipulate a vast external universe. You are the infinite consciousness in which the entire universe exists, choosing which aspect of your infinite self you will experience. The 3D world is your self-expression. The 4D world is your creative workshop. This infinite dimension is your infinite being, and you have access to all three dimensions at all times. So what does it mean to live as an infinite being? It means you stop being a victim of 3D circumstances. It means you stop struggling to manifest in the 4D imagination. It means you recognize that everything already exists in this dimension of infinite possibilities, and your only job is to claim which reality you will experience. Living from infinite consciousness means you wake up each day knowing that today's reality is not imposed upon you. You are selecting it from infinite possibilities. Living from this awareness means you meet challenges not with fear, but with the knowledge that in this dimension the solution already exists. Living as infinite consciousness means you never ask, can this happen? But only, which version of this do I choose to experience? This is your invitation. This is your birthright. This is the truth of what you are. You are not a 3D body struggling through time. You are not even a 4D imagination creating your world. You are infinite being, temporarily focused through the lens of individuality, selecting which of your infinite possibilities you will experience. Enter this dimension. Claim your reality. Live from infinite possibilities. And watch as your 3D world becomes a perfect reflection of the magnificent reality you have claimed from the dimension where everything already exists in perfect completion. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
Beloved, confidence is not something you acquire from the world. It is something you awaken within yourself. You were born with a seed of certainty, yet through doubt and comparison, you have allowed the world to convince you otherwise. Today, I will show you how to reclaim it. True confidence begins not with action, but with imagination. The way you see yourself within is the way the world will respond to you. If inwardly you tremble, the world will give you reasons to fear. But if inwardly you stand tall, clothed in the dignity of one who knows their worth, the world cannot help but reflect your boldness. To build unstoppable confidence, you must live from the end. Close your eyes and ask, what would it feel like if I were already fearless? If I already possessed the strength to walk into any room and command it? Do not wait for evidence. Feel it now. The moment you inhabit that inner reality, you step into the power that has been yours all along. Guard your inner conversations, for they are the architects of your identity. Do not speak within yourself as one who is weak, hesitant, or unsure. Speak instead as the one who has already overcome. Whisper within, I am certain, I am capable, I am unstoppable. These words, when felt, reshape your destiny. Doubt will come, for the outer world will challenge your assumption. Yet assumption is stronger than circumstance. Persist in wearing the invisible cloak of confidence. Persist until the invisible becomes visible. Confidence is not a mask. It is the revelation of who you already are beneath fear. And above all, place your faith not in what eyes can see, but in what the heart knows. Confidence is faith in yourself, faith in the unseen self that is greater than every limitation. Trust it, nurture it, and live as if it were already so. Imagination creates reality. This is not just a poetic phrase, but a profound truth that governs the way you live, breathe, and experience the world. Confidence is not something you acquire by collecting compliments, nor is it something that can be granted to you by others. It is born in the secret chamber of your imagination. The inner picture you hold of yourself is the very foundation upon which your outer life is built. Think of it this way. Every moment you are imagining yourself into being. You may not always be aware of it, but the story you tell yourself inwardly, the images you entertain in your mind, and the feelings you permit yourself to dwell upon, all come together to form the self you present to the world. If your inner picture is one of weakness, fear, or unworthiness, then no matter how many people tell you that you are capable, their words will dissolve against the stronger image you have already built within. On the other hand, if you cultivate an inner picture of yourself as strong, assured, and powerful, then even the criticisms of the world will fall powerless, for they cannot pierce the armor of the self you imagine yourself to be. Confidence, then, is not about seeking approval, but about creating alignment between the inner image and the outer expression. When you see yourself as already confident, already capable, already victorious, you begin to act in harmony with that vision. Your posture changes, your voice carries weight, your presence commands attention, not because you're pretending, but because you're living from the reality you have accepted within. The imagination is not some child's play of fantasy. It is the workshop of reality. Everything you see around you, the buildings, the inventions, the movements of history, was first imagined in the unseen before it appeared in the seen. Likewise, your confidence must first be imagined before it can be experienced. Close your eyes and see yourself walking into the room with poise, speaking with clarity, meeting challenges with boldness. Do not wait for it to happen in the outer world. Claim it now in the inner. For the inner world is the cause, and the outer world merely the effect. When you allow your imagination to dwell upon the confident self, you begin to impress this image upon your subconscious mind. The more often you return to it, the more natural it feels. And what once felt like a dream begins to feel like truth. Then the world will reflect it back to you, not because it has given you confidence, but because you have given confidence to yourself. Therefore, never measure your confidence by the applause of others. Do not wait for the world to validate you. Instead, step boldly into the truth that imagination creates reality. Hold firmly the image of yourself as unstoppable, and reality will bow to the picture you sustain within. For the world is but a mirror, and it can only show you who you have already chosen to be in the theater of your imagination. To live from the end is to embody the truth of what you desire as though it were already accomplished. When it comes to confidence, this principle is the key that unlocks everything. Most people attempt to build confidence by waiting for evidence, waiting to succeed, waiting to be acknowledged, waiting for others to approve of them. But the truth is reversed. You must feel now as if you already possess unshakable confidence, and it is that inner state that summons the outer reflection. Think of the actor who steps onto the stage. He does not wait to feel like the character. He assumes the role fully and lives as if he already is that character. The audience responds not to his hesitation, but to his conviction. In the same way, you must step into the character of the confident self. Do not wait for some far-off day when circumstances will give you permission to feel strong. Claim that strength now by imagining what it would feel like to already be it. To live from the end is to ask yourself, what would I think, how would I speak, how would I move if I already had the confidence I long for? And then to practice living in that feeling now. You do not say, one day I will be confident. Instead, you declare inwardly, I am confident now. It is the assumption of the end that makes the end real. Confidence is not something to chase, it is something to embody. The outer world is only a mirror. It cannot give you what you do not first accept within yourself. If you continue to see yourself as lacking, as insecure, as unworthy, then the mirror will show you the same. But if you dare to live as though you already are confident, even in the face of contrary evidence, the mirror will adjust itself to reflect your inner acceptance. This is why living from the end is so powerful. It bypasses waiting and anchors you in the truth of your desire as if it were already here. Confidence, then, is not about doing, but about being. It is a state of consciousness, a self you choose to inhabit. You may look at your life and say, but I have failed before. I have been rejected. I have been overlooked. Yet to live from the end is to refuse to let past facts dictate your present identity. You do not build confidence by rehearsing your failures. You build it by rehearsing your success within until the feeling of it becomes natural. Persist in the feeling of the end. Persist in walking, speaking, and thinking as the one who is already unshakably confident. When doubt arises, return to the end again. Close your eyes and inhabit the feeling once more. With time, the world must bend to the truth you have chosen to live from, for reality has no choice but to mirror the state you occupy. To live from the end is to claim your confidence now, not tomorrow, not when conditions seem perfect, but now. And when you do, the outer world will align itself, to the inner picture you have dared to make real. The words you speak silently to yourself, the dialogues you hold in the secret chambers of your mind, are the builders of your identity. These inner conversations are not meaningless thoughts that pass and vanish. They are seeds planted in the fertile soil of your imagination, and every seed brings forth after its kind. If you continually speak within as one who doubts, hesitates, or fears, then the world will mirror those whispers back to you in the form of insecurity and limitation. Those whispers back to you in the form of insecurity and limitation. But if you dare to change the dialogue, if you begin to speak inwardly as the confident version of yourself, you reshape the very essence of who you are. Most people are unaware of the conversations they are having within. They rehearse failure before it happens. They anticipate rejection before they even step forward. They silently tell themselves, "I can't do this, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough." And then they are surprised when life reflects exactly what they have already declared. But the truth is, you cannot speak weakness within and expect strength without. You cannot whisper defeat inwardly and expect victory outwardly. Your life is the echo of your inner speech. To build unstoppable confidence, you must take charge of this hidden dialogue. You must become aware of the words you are saying to yourself in silence, and you must begin to change them deliberately. This does not mean repeating empty phrases without feeling, but entering into a new inner story. Imagine speaking to yourself as though you are already the confident one you desire to be. Ask yourself, what does confidence sound like within me? What would I be saying to myself if I knew I was unstoppable? And then begin to speak that way again and again until it becomes your natural voice. Inner conversations shape identity because identity itself is nothing more than the story you accept about yourself. If your story is one of fear, then fear will follow you. If your story is one of boldness, then boldness will rise within you. Every time you speak inwardly as the confident self, you are chiseling away the old image and building a new one. It is like sculpting stone. The repeated strikes of your inner words slowly shape the masterpiece of your true self. The key is persistence. At first, the old voice of doubt may resist. You may find yourself slipping into the same fearful conversations. But each time you catch it, you have an opportunity to shift. Refuse to let the old dialogue dominate. Interrupt it with the voice of your confident self. Speak within as if you already are the person you long to become. With each repetition, the old identity weakens and the new one takes root. Soon, your outer actions begin to match your inner speech. You walk differently, you speak with more authority, you carry yourself with poise. Not because you forced yourself to, but because your inner world has changed and the outer must follow. The silent conversations you hold are not trivial. They are the script of your destiny. Change the script, and the play of your life must change. Begin now to speak within as the confident version of yourself, and you will discover that confidence is not something you chase, but something you have always had, waiting to be claimed by the voice within. Assumption is the key that silences doubt. Every great transformation begins with the decision to assume a new state of being, regardless of whether the outer world confirms it. To build unstoppable confidence, you must learn to assume the role of the self-assured individual, even when your circumstances suggest otherwise. Doubt will always whisper. Evidence may seem to contradict you, but assumption, when held firmly, overrules doubt and eventually hardens into fact. Think of a seed placed in the soil. At first, the ground looks unchanged. The surface gives no evidence that anything has taken root. Yet beneath the soil, an invisible process is at work, and in time, what was assumed to be there reveals itself in form. In the same way, your assumption of confidence may feel invisible at first. You may still feel the tremors of uncertainty, still hear the echo of self-doubt, still notice situations that reflect weakness, but do not be deceived by appearances. Hold to your assumption. Live as though it were already true, and just like the seed, your confidence will break through and become visible. The power of assumption lies in the way it reshapes your behavior. When you assume you are already confident, you carry yourself differently. Your words flow with greater ease. Your presence communicates certainty. You may tell yourself it is only imagination, but others will begin to sense it, respond to it, and reflect it back to you. The assumption becomes contagious, and the world adjusts to the vibration you are now projecting. Doubt, however, will challenge you. It will arise in the form of contrary evidence. You may walk into a room and feel overlooked, or attempt something new and stumble. In that moment, you will be tempted to abandon your assumption and return to the old state of insecurity. But to do so is to uproot the seed before it has time to grow. The secret is persistence. Remain loyal to your assumption, even in the face of opposition. Say within yourself, I am confident, I am certain, I am secure, not because the outer world shows it yet, but because you have chosen it as your truth. As you persist, something remarkable happens. The assumption begins to feel natural. What once felt like pretending now feels like being. You no longer have to force yourself to act confidently, you simply are. And at that point, the world, which is but a mirror of your inner state, has no choice but to reflect your new identity. People treat you differently, opportunities align, and what began as an invisible assumption solidifies into fact. Confidence, therefore, is not the absence of doubt, but the refusal to bow to it. Doubt may shout, but assumption holds the final word. Assume the role of the self-assured individual no matter what the evidence says. Walk as if you already are that person. Speak as if you already believe it. Live as if it were already done. And soon the assumption that once seemed fragile will become the unshakable reality of your life. Persistence is the secret that transforms fragile beginnings into lasting realities. Confidence is not something you declare once and then forget. It is not a momentary spark that fades with the winds of doubt. True, unshakable confidence is forged through the steady, repeated inner practice of seeing yourself as unstoppable until that vision becomes the very fabric of your being. Many people begin with enthusiasm. They imagine themselves strong, bold, and certain. For a moment they feel empowered, but when circumstances contradict their vision, when challenges arise, or when doubt whispers again, they abandon the image and sink back into old patterns. This is where most fail, not because they lack the ability to be confident, but because they lack persistence. They did not continue to hold the image long enough for it to harden into fact. To persist means to return again and again to the inner picture of yourself as confident. It means refusing to let temporary appearances dictate your truth. Perhaps you stand before a crowd and your hands tremble. Perhaps you attempt something new and stumble at first. These moments do not define you unless you allow them to. If you persist in seeing yourself as unstoppable, those small tremors are nothing more than passing shadows. They cannot undo the lie of the inner reality you continue to claim. Persistence is the gentle yet unyielding repetition of the truth you choose. Day after day, you remind yourself, I am confident, I am strong, I am secure. You live as though it were already true, even when it feels unnatural at first. With every repetition, the old doubts lose their grip, and the new identity gains strength. Just as water shapes stone, not through force, but through steady flow, persistence shapes your consciousness until confidence becomes natural. Confidence is not built in a single moment of triumph, but in countless unseen moments where you persist in choosing the higher vision of yourself. When you awaken in the morning, persist in seeing yourself as bold. When challenges confront you, persist in remembering you are capable. When the world seems to deny your worth, persist in affirming it inwardly. Each act of persistence is a brick in the foundation of the unshakable self you are building. Without persistence, even the strongest vision fades, but with persistence, even the weakest beginning grows into strength. It is not the brilliance of one moment that creates greatness, but the steady faithfulness of returning to the truth you have chosen. Confidence, then, is not something that suddenly arrives from the outside. It is the fruit of inner persistence. If you would build unstoppable confidence, make persistence your ally. Refuse to give up the vision. Refuse to let doubt have the final word. Refuse to measure yourself by temporary appearances. See yourself as unstoppable and keep seeing it until the world itself bends to your persistence. For the one who persists, nothing is impossible, and confidence becomes not just an act, but a way of being. Faith in the invisible is the foundation upon which true confidence rests. To trust only in what the eyes can see is to live as a prisoner of appearances, forever swayed by the shifting tides of opinion, circumstance, and temporary evidence. But to trust in the unseen reality within, the vision you carry, the identity you have claimed, the truth you feel but cannot yet touch, is to stand on ground that cannot be shaken. Confidence grows in proportion to your willingness to believe in this invisible reality more than in the fleeting voices outside. Consider how easily the world changes its opinion. One day you are praised, the next you are criticized. One moment you are admired, the next you are forgotten. If your confidence rests upon the unstable foundation of other people's approval, it will rise and fall like a fragile house in the wind. But when your confidence springs from the invisible conviction within, no opinion, no circumstance, no passing event has the power to move you. You stand rooted in the unseen, and the unseen is eternal. The invisible reality is the one you claim in imagination. It is the inner picture of yourself as confident, strong, and unshakable. The outer world may not yet reflect it, but faith says it is already mine. Faith does not wait for evidence. Faith creates the evidence. The confident self you imagine is more real than the doubt others may speak over you, because what you sustain within will inevitably shape what appears without. To have faith in the invisible is to look beyond appearances. You may look in the mirror and see hesitation. You may step into a room and feel overlooked. Yet inwardly you persist in knowing, I am certain, I am capable, I am unstoppable. You refuse to measure yourself by what the senses report, and instead you measure yourself by the unseen reality you have chosen. In time, the outer world must align with the inner, for the visible is but the shadow of the invisible. Confidence, then, is not arrogance. It is not shouting loudly to convince others of your worth. Confidence is quiet faith. It is the inner knowing that needs no external validation. When you live with faith in the invisible, your presence itself speaks louder than words. Others may not understand it, but they feel it. They sense that you are anchored in something deeper than approval, something stronger than circumstance. To cultivate this faith, you must practice seeing the invisible more clearly than the visible. Each time doubt arises, remind yourself, the unseen reality is greater than what I see now. Each time opinion shifts against you, say within, my truth does not depend on their perception. Each time fear whispers, return to the invisible vision of yourself as bold, radiant, and unstoppable. Confidence grows not from clinging to appearances, but from trusting what cannot yet be seen. Live by faith in the invisible, and you will discover a strength that cannot be taken from you, for it does not belong to the world. It belongs to the reality you carry within. Confidence is not a gift the world bestows, but a power you awaken within. It is born in imagination, sustained by inner conversations, strengthened by assumption, established through persistence, and crowned by faith in the invisible. When you choose to live from the end, seeing yourself as already unstoppable, the outer world cannot resist but mirror that truth back to you. Long before you, the secret is simple yet profound. Believe more in the reality you carry within than in the appearances around you. Hold fast to the vision of yourself as bold, radiant, and unshakable. Nurture it, live in it, persist in it, and in time, you will find that what began as a whisper in the silence of your mind becomes the undeniable fact of your life. So step forward not as one waiting to become confident, but as one who already is. Let the world witness what you have already claimed in the unseen. For once you decide that you are unstoppable, nothing outside you can ever prove otherwise. Thank you for lending me your time, your heart, and your attention. May you leave here today not only with words, but with the living fire of confidence awakened within you.
Good evening, my friends. You know, I've been teaching this law for many years now. And in all that time, I've watched thousands of you come to these meetings, notebooks in hand, eager to learn the secrets of manifestation. And do you know what I see happening? You're making it so complicated, so unnecessarily difficult. You're buried under techniques, drowning in methods, paralyzed by rules you think you must follow perfectly, or everything will fail. And all the while the answer, the simple, beautiful, elegant answer, is staring you right in the face, but you can't see it, because you're too busy searching for something more complex. So tonight, I'm going to strip everything away, all the techniques, all the methods, all the elaborate practices. And I'm going to give you the raw truth, the one principle that makes everything else irrelevant. And I promise you, when you finally hear it, I mean really hear it, let it sink into your bones, you're going to laugh. Because it's so simple, so obvious, so absurdly beautifully simple that you'll wonder how you ever missed it. Assume it's done. That's it. That is the law. Not a technique, not a method, not a formula. The law itself. Now, before you dismiss this as too simple, before you think, but wait, I already know that, let me ask you something. If you really knew it, if you truly understood it, would you still be here searching for the perfect technique? Would you still be asking me which method works fastest? Would you still be worried about whether you're doing your visualizations correctly? No, you wouldn't. Because when you really grasp this, when it clicks so deeply that you can't unknow it, everything changes. Every technique becomes optional. Every method becomes flexible. every rigid rule dissolves. You become free. But most of you aren't free yet. And tonight, I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you the trap you've fallen into. The mistake that's keeping you from the simple, effortless manifestation that should be your natural state. And then I'm going to give you the key to walk out of that trap forever. So please, put down your notebooks for a moment. Stop trying to memorize. Stop analyzing. Just listen, because what I'm about to tell you could save you years, perhaps decades of unnecessary struggle. Let me show you where most of you are stuck right now. You come to these meetings searching for the perfect method, the right technique, the secret formula that will finally make everything work. And there's nothing wrong with that. I understand. We've all been there. But here's what you're missing. And please listen carefully, because this will save you years of unnecessary struggle. The technique is never the cause. Your consciousness is the cause. Your consciousness, your assumption is the only cause. Always. Now over the years I've taught you many techniques. The state akin to sleep, revision, the thankful heart, living in the end, mental diets. And some of you have taken these techniques and made them into rigid rules. You've turned them into superstitions. I have to loop exactly 3 times, Neville. It only works if I do it at bedtime, right? What if I use the wrong words? Will it still work? No, no, no. You've missed the point entirely. These techniques, SATs, revision, scripting, affirmations, all of them, they're just different doors into the same room. Think of it this way. Imagine a beautiful room. Inside that room is the state of your wish fulfilled. That's where your desire already exists, perfectly formed, waiting for you. Now there are many doors into this room. The SATs door, the revision door, the affirmation door, the scripting door, different doors. But they all lead to the exact same room. And they work when they work, because they successfully accomplish one thing and one thing only. They shift your assumption. That's it. That's the whole mechanism. SATs works not because there's magic in visualizing before sleep. It works because when done correctly, it shifts you into the state of the wish fulfilled. It gets you into that room. Revision works not because you're changing the past. You're not. The past is gone. Revision works because changing how you remember events changes your present assumption about yourself and your world. Affirmations work not because words have power in themselves. They work when and only when they shift your consciousness from the state of wanting to the state of having. Do you see? The technique is the vehicle. The assumption is the destination. And most of you, you're so fixated on the vehicle that you've forgotten where you're trying to go. Let me tell you what I see happening. And please, don't be offended. I'm telling you this because I care about your success. You come to these teachings and you collect techniques like someone collecting stamps. Oh, I know SATs. I know revision. I know mental diet. I know ladder technique. And then you use them desperately, anxiously hoping one of them will work. You do your SATs at night, but while you're doing it, you're thinking, please work. Please let this work. I need this to manifest. What if it doesn't work? Do you see what you're doing? You're using the technique, but you're not in the state. You're not assuming it's done. You're assuming it's not done and hoping the technique will make it done. And because assumption is the only reality, because what you assume must become fact, your assumption of it's not done is what manifests. Not the scene you're visualizing, the state you're actually occupying. Then when nothing happens, what do? You blame the technique. SATs doesn't work for me. Maybe I need something stronger. Maybe I need a different method. No, the technique didn't fail you. You failed to understand what the technique is for. The technique is not the power. You are the power. Your consciousness is the power. Your assumption is the creative force. The technique is just a tool to help you shift your assumption. But if you're using the tool while maintaining the old assumption, the tool can't do anything for you. And then, oh, this breaks my heart when I see it. Then you become rigid, superstitious. You turn these simple practices into elaborate rituals. I must loop exactly 3 times. It only works at bedtime. I have to use these exact words. I have to be lying down. I can't move once I start. And on and on and on with the rules. You've taken a simple principle, assume it's done, and you've buried it under a mountain of superstition. Let me tell you something. I've manifested things while walking down the street, while sitting in a chair, while standing in line at the grocery store. Why? Because I understood that the technique doesn't matter. The state matters. If I can assume it's done, if I can feel it real, if I can occupy that state completely, it will manifest. Period. I don't need perfect conditions. I don't need the right time of day. I don't need to follow a rigid formula. I just need to assume it's done and mean it. And then there are those of you who technique hop. You try SATs for a week. Nothing happens, so you move to revision. You try revision for a few days. Nothing, so you switch to scripting. Scripting doesn't work fast enough, so you try affirmations. Affirmations feel ineffective, so you go back to SATs. But this time you add a new element you read about. Always searching. Always looking for something more powerful. Something that works faster. Something easier. And you know what the tragedy is? You already have everything you need. You don't need a more advanced technique. You don't need a secret method I haven't told you about yet. You need to stop searching for new doors and walk through the one in front of you. Because they all, every single one of them, lead to the same place. A shifted assumption. Pick one. Any one. Master it by understanding what it's actually doing. Shifting your assumption and you'll never need another. Now here's what saddens me most. In all your searching, in all your technique collecting, in all your rigid rule following and desperate trying, you miss the beautiful simplicity I've been pointing to all along. Assume it's done. That is the law. Not a technique. Not a method. The law itself. Consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being, you are. What you assume to be true becomes true. That's it. That's the entire teaching. Everything else, every technique, every method, every practice I've ever shared is just a different way of helping you do one thing. Shift your assumption from I want it to I have it. From hoping to knowing. From desiring to possessing. From wanting to being. When you truly understand this, when it clicks so deeply that you can't unknow it, everything changes. You stop being enslaved by techniques. You stop worrying about doing them perfectly. You stop searching for the right one, because you finally understand the technique doesn't create. Consciousness creates, and you are consciousness. Let me tell you what happens when this understanding really takes hold. You become free, completely free, free from rigidity. You are no longer bound by rules about exactly how the technique must be performed. You understand that the form doesn't matter, the assumption matters. So you can do your imaginal act sitting in a chair if you want. You can visualize while walking. You can impress your subconscious at noon instead of bedtime. You can loop once or 10 times or not loop at all. Why? Because you know it's not the technique that's creating. It's your assumption. And you can shift your assumption anywhere, anytime, however works best for you in that moment. Free from superstition. You're no longer afraid that missing a night of practice will ruin everything. You're no longer worried that you didn't use the exact right words. You know that consciousness is the only reality. And as long as you're maintaining the assumption of the wish fulfilled, as long as you're in that state, manifestation is inevitable. The particular vehicle you use to get into that state doesn't matter. Free from dependency on methods. This is the big one. When you truly understand that assumption is the law, you realize you don't actually need techniques at all. Oh, they're helpful. They're useful. They make the process easier, especially when you're learning. But you're not dependent on them. You're not helpless without them, because you can shift your assumption right now. This instant. Without closing your eyes. Without lying down. Without any formal practice at all. How? By simply deciding it's done. I accept it as done in consciousness right now. And if you can truly make that assumption, if you can embody that state fully, it will manifest. Guaranteed. The technique was never necessary. It was just training wheels. And now you can ride the bike on your own. And here's how you know when you've really grasped this. You stop asking, which technique should I use? Which one is most powerful? Which one will work fastest? And you start asking, what am I assuming right now? And is that assumption aligned with my desire? That shift in question changes everything, because now you're focused on the right thing. Not the method, the state, not the vehicle, the destination, not the technique, the consciousness. You're checking your assumption throughout the day. Am I assuming I have it, or am I assuming I want it? Am I in the state of the wish fulfilled, or am I in the state of hoping it will be fulfilled? And when you catch yourself in the wrong assumption, you don't panic. You don't think, oh no, I'm ruining everything. You just shift, gently, naturally. Oh, I was assuming lack. Let me return to the assumption of having, and you do, and you continue, and the manifestation continues forming. This is mastery, not using the perfect technique, but maintaining the perfect assumption. Now, some of you are still thinking, but I want to learn more advanced techniques. I want the secret methods you haven't shared yet, and I'm telling you as plainly as I can, you don't need more advanced methods. You need a deeper understanding of the one law behind all methods. There is no secret technique I'm holding back. There's no advanced formula that will suddenly make everything easy. There's only this. Consciousness is the only reality, and assumptions harden into facts. Assume it's done. That's the law. That's the whole law. That's the only law. Grasp that principle, really grasp it, deep in your being, and every technique becomes yours to use or not use with full confidence and conviction. You can use SATs if you like. It works beautifully when you understand what it's actually doing. You can use revision if that resonates with you. It's a powerful tool for shifting assumptions about your past and therefore your present. You can affirm, you can script, you can visualize, you can live in the end. Or you can do none of them, because you understand that the technique is not the power. You are the power. The method doesn't create. Your assumption creates. And the instant you assume it's done, truly assume it, not hope it, not want it, but know it's done in consciousness. In that instant, it begins to harden into fact in your world. Here's how you'll know if you've really understood tonight's message. Tomorrow, when you wake up, you won't immediately think, what technique should I do today? How many times should I loop my scene? What's the best method for this desire? Instead, you'll ask yourself, what am I assuming about this situation? Am I assuming it's done, or am I assuming it's still pending? And if you're assuming it's pending, you'll shift. Right there. No technique required. You'll just change your assumption. It's done. I accept it as finished in consciousness. And you'll feel the shift, the relief, the certainty, the peace of knowing. And you'll move through your day from that assumption, not from a technique you performed, but from a state you're occupying. That's when you'll know. You've got it. You've understood. You've moved beyond techniques to the principle behind them all. So this is my gift to you tonight. This understanding. Use the techniques if they help you. I've given them to you because they work. They're effective tools for shifting consciousness. But don't worship them. Don't become enslaved by them. Don't think they're the power. You are the power. Your consciousness is the creative force of your entire world. And all you have to do, the only thing you've ever had to do, is assume your desire is fulfilled, not hope it will be fulfilled, not work toward it being fulfilled, not try to make it be fulfilled. Assume it is fulfilled. Now, already, done. That's it. That's the law. Everything else I've ever taught you is just different ways of helping you do that one simple thing. So tonight when you go home, you can do your SATs if you like, or you can revise your day, or you can write in your journal from the end. Or you can repeat your affirmation. But while you're doing it, remember the technique is not creating your reality. Your assumption is, and if you can assume it's done, if you can really feel it done, know it's done, accept it as done in consciousness. You don't need the technique at all. You're already in the state. You're already in that room. The door you came through doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that you're there, in the state of the wish fulfilled. And from that state, manifestation is not a maybe. It's not a hope. It's not a wish. It's a law. Assume it's done. That is the law. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.